Well, it's just gone 7:30 Central African time. Hello and Sani Bonani. My name is Bob O'Connor. I'm joined today by the one, the only champion of the top tier of the Brakeaway Racing League. It's Sichle Laga. Sichle, hello. We are in China. It is the final day of playoffs. How are you feeling about this?
Yeah, I'm excited, Ty. I'm excited. Looking forward to see who will be staying in T3, who will be going to T2, and for the following race, we'll be going to Tier 1.
Yeah.
We'll be going to Tier 2. It should be interesting, seeing how close everyone is on track, specifically the following race.
Yeah.
I know Shaga's Warrior just requires a point, and he'll be in Tier 2. Charlie 3 Stacks has to fight his way to Tier 2.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for him, with the incident that happened in the previous race. Yeah, but we'll see. It's a tricky circuit, very slippery. It should be interesting.
Tricky conditions, and would you look at that, as you say that, it's rainy on top of that. It was already a slippery track, as Sichle has mentioned, but now they have to contend with inclement weather conditions. Now, we're hoping that MKG could at least join us. I know that Sig Fig, I'd heard through the grapevine that Sig Fig couldn't make it, and of course, unfortunately, Crash couldn't take part in these playoffs. But yeah, if MKG could join, then he would be a very interesting person to watch, considering he's been slowly, quietly racking up points despite his struggles on track.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think he's load shed. Seeing that we're back on stage 4. So
Yeah, that is absolutely heartbreaking. So it's a shootout between Tegway, Charlie 3 Stacks, and Shaka's Warrior. Now, you'd remember if you were with us on the first playoff race, Charlie 3 Stacks, very confident. He's got the pace. He can turn it on and turn it up a notch when he needs to. And, well, back in Silverstone, he said he was racing for fun. He ended up P2. And then with that dramatic result in the second race, he's now under pressure to get it over the line here. He's definitely got his work cut out.
Yeah, he's quick, like you said. He has great race pace. In quali, he seems to struggle, but as you know, the session continues, he continues finding pace. Now, we couldn't get to see that part of him previous race as he was taking out first corner.
Yeah.
But hopefully with less people now on the grid, we will get to see him do what he did in Silverstone. Hopefully this time without any risky strategies. And just see what he can do, and hopefully win as well.
Hopefully for him. It looks like Tegway might be one of the first to drive, or either Charlie 3 Stacks and Chaka's Warrior. I'm hearing that MKG Lakoa might just be ready to come on, so I'm just going to make sure that he can get invited to this lobby. And let's just get this sorted out quickly for you. MKG Lakoa. I have a million friends on PSN, so I'm just looking for MKG here. Okay. There we go. Right. Hopefully we'll have MKG out on track as soon as we possibly can. It looks like the front-running car is Shaka's Warrior.
Just started his hot lap. Seems like it's invalidated. I think he went off track
just before he started. Let's hop on board with Charlie 3 Stacks. Meanwhile, his outlap is almost complete. And here he comes now into turn 1. You mentioned it's a slippery track. of course, exacerbated by the rainy conditions. What's the thinking on a track like this as far as setup and tires if we have a dry race?
I know dry race, I wouldn't be shocked seeing hard tires here. It's quite a long circuit and it has very heavy corners which are quite rough on the tires. So I don't see soft stints lasting long here.
Yeah.
I think hards are the way.
Hards would definitely be the way to go if conditions dry up, as C-Clay mentions. Now, this is Charlie 3 Stacks. He's desperate for points. He currently sits on 19 points, having crashed out of race 2. And above him in points is Tegway with 25 points and MKG with 30 points. He currently sits P2 in this playoff standings. And top of the standings right now is Shaka's Warrior, who, as C-Clay mentioned, needs just 1 point to guarantee his spot in Tier 2 next season. Here we are on board with Charlie 3 Stacks making his way to the back straight. He's been taking it very, very carefully, and by the looks of things, he might just be getting some more tire temperature. It doesn't look like he's pushing here, so we'll get a proper sense of how Charlie 3 Stacks' representative time will look by the time he crosses the line one more time. And as I say that, this is Shaka's Warrior, following close to behind, of course. He's going to look to warm up those intermediate tires, slightly behind Charlie, and of course Tegway is currently completing his outlap. What a session it's been for Tegway. Missed the first race and came back to claim a fantastic result in race 2. So he's in with a shout here as Charlie 3 Stacks crosses the line to begin his hot lap in earnest. So here we are as Charlie 3 Stacks reaches the first corner. It's a long, slow right-hander, which kind of sees you dragged by the G-forces towards the left. But Charlie 3 Stacks now has to navigate this turn 2, and in these conditions he has a little bit of a slide, and he has to correct that the steering now. Of course, by now
Shaka has exactly the same slide.
Exactly the same slide, Chaka, behind Charlie 3 Stacks. He now knows that he will be the first to set a representative time out here on track. Of course, that slow lap will represent a banker for Charlie 3 Stacks. But this first true attempt, he kisses the curb on the left there and comes into this right-hander. It's absolutely treacherous. As you can see, the rain is not falling too hard, but it is oh so slippery on a track which is already demanding. So it's not going to be straightforward for Charlie 3 Stacks. He was having fun in Britain, but race 2 placed him under a world of pressure. He needs to put it on pole here to give himself the confidence to send this car to an absolutely fantastic result. 11 minutes and 13 seconds to go in qualifying here in China. If you've just joined us, it is the final race in the playoffs. It is the race for Tier 2 race C. Here comes Charlie 3 Stacks down the back straight, absolutely sending that car screaming. And behind him comes, of course, Tegway and Shaka's Warrior. We'll see exactly how they will fare. Into the penultimate corner comes Charlie 3 Stacks. He hits that apex perfectly. Has a bit of a moment coming out of that corner.
Correction.
Yep. A little bit of a correction there. How many tenths will that cost him overall? Well, it's Charlie 3 Stacks. Ooh, almost goes way wide. Coming out of that final corner, it's a 147.437. Tegway, what can you do? What can you say now? You will cross the line, 145.83. 2 seconds, as you've correctly noted. Now here comes Shaka's Warrior. It doesn't look like a fast run from him. So Tegway looking decent. But in these conditions, do you expect him to shave more seconds?
Yeah, it's expected. I'm not sure if you can see what I'm seeing. It looks like it's clearing up quite a bit as well. We are still seeing raindrops on track, but the skies are brightening up.
Yep. And these three will definitely hope for a brighter day and bright result. We do hope that MKG can join us. It is our understanding that he's made his way to the light, so to speak. And it'll be great to see him have his say out here on track. 9 minutes and 40 seconds to go in qualifying out here in China. We're on board with Shaka's Warrior. And what can he do now in his effort to give himself a fighting chance for pole position? Really struggling for grip. Of course, it's not surprising in these conditions, but you've watched this man's journey, some of that you know quite well. Tell us about his prowess in rainy conditions, under race conditions specifically.
Under rainy conditions, he's good. I've seen him being consistent on wheel and on the pad.
Yeah.
I think he might be struggling here, maybe based on his setup being set specifically for dry conditions.
Yeah.
As in some corners, you see quite a lot of understeering, and in others, it's oversteer. So he's always having to correct the car. Maybe a few changes to his setup would actually put him in the right position to be quite quick, yeah.
Perhaps we will see some welcome improvements from Shaka's Warrior. He definitely goes significantly quicker than the previous time. It's a 1:46.2, but still some way off the time set by Tegway. Man, what an end to the season Tegway has had. Found some pace towards the end of the season of the final races, but unfortunately for him, of course, he could not guarantee an automatic placement in Tier 2 for next season. He is here via the playoffs, and Tegway is in fighting form. 25 points collected last time out. What can he do this time around? Well, time will tell. I suppose we'll soon be seeing MKG because he has joined the lobby. We're on board now with Charlie 3 Stacks. Charlie 3000, the self-proclaimed face of Breakaway, but he is facing down a challenge of sorts from the likes of Tegway, Shaka's Warrior, and soon to be MKG. And Nebo, we should be joined by MKG in a matter of seconds now, with about 7.5 minutes of qualifying to go. It's Charlie 3 Stacks on the back straight, absolutely sending it down, and he goes, of course, the DRS zone is inconsequential in these conditions. Charlie 3 Stacks, we saw you nail the apex on this heavy braking zone last time out. This time, it goes all the way down to second gear. He's careful not to have a similar spin as he did last time we were on board with him. It is now the final corner. Charlie's 3 Stacks, abandons that, and he's coming back into the pits. Charlie 3 Stacks, we'll see how that fares for him. Shaka's Warrior, meanwhile, is he definitely looking to improve?
Yes,
nope, coming back into the pits. So all four are now back in the pits. MKG, as you can see on the left of your screen, is now here. He's getting all hooked up and having the last sip of Gammer. Yes, Gammer. In that, it looks like he's commandeered a Williams, or is it an Alpine here today? It's an Alpine, yes. So it's all or nothing, says Charlie 3 Stacks. Confidence, comfortable enough to be in the chat as well as in the paddock. Charlie 3 Stacks with his trademark confidence. Hopefully that will translate to a promotional spot here today. But this man, MKG, will look to have something to say out here in China. MKG currently sits P2 in these standings. He's quietly racked up 30 points. He struggled for pace, has MKG, aka Lakoa. He struggled for pace as far as race conditions are concerned, but he's made sure to bring the car home, and he's gradually, slowly, incrementally racked up the points in each of the 2 races so far. Now he finds himself on 30 points with Tegway 5 points behind him. So he will just be looking to finish at the very least ahead of Tegway, and if he can get ahead of Charlie 3 Stacks, then it's an automatic retention of his spot in Tier 2, because that would be a fantastic result for them. Kid K says, China, it always rains here. And Seaclay, you've had some absolutely memorable races here that we can recall in previous years in China. Tell us about the kind of adjustments that you've had to make to your setups. Is it something as simple as the downforce as well, or do you deliberately also make your car more pointy in these conditions?
I think in any conditions around the circuit, you need a stable rear and a pointy front. Trying to get that balance is actually quite tricky as a whole, to have a car that goes to the direction you'd like it to. It should be slippery in some senses. So that's for my driving style specifically. I think I'd run high downforce in my front, and the rear quite low. So I'd be quite wary of the fact that I could lose the car. Since I have a loose rear, but as long as I can point the car in any direction, it should be good.
It should be good, and you'll make up, of course. Oh, MKG has a bit of a moment here, coming out, making his way to the end of Sector 1. He manages to keep it on track, well, if you look at that, despite that, he still goes quickest. It's a purple Sector 1 for MKG with 4 minutes of qualifying to go. He's just come onto the track, and, well, as things stand, he's really holding no punches. We saw him struggle there a little bit, but I suppose it's all or nothing, like Charlie 3 Stack said in the comment section. He's pretty much, well, absolutely sending it. And what a result it would be for him if he could place this car on pole position. And he would have the fight of his life in his hands to keep it in the front. It is MKG Lakua making his way now through Sector 2. We'll get a sense of whether or not it'll also be purple. And, yeah, what an effort that is for Lakua if he can get that done.
I know, blind out.
Yes, it's quite remarkable. It's quite remarkable in these conditions. If you've just joined us, we're 3 minutes of qualifying to go. This is the final playoff race to secure a spot in Tier 2 for next season. Joining me in the commentary is Zeekley, the reigning champion of Tier 1 in Breakaway League Racing. Here comes MKG in the final sector. It's the penultimate corner, which he took with absolute caution, and the final turn, it goes quite heavy on the curve, but does not invalidate. It is MKG on his first attempt. He will cross the line with a 148.009, nowhere near challenging the likes of Tegway, Shaka's Warrior, and Charlie 3 Stacks. He's got his work cut out for him, but he's got enough time to make an impression on the top 3, Seaflake.
Yeah, definitely. Track conditions are only going to get better. The others as well, they had to take a few runs around just to get their times in. You can see the same happening for him. Intermediates usually get better throughout the first few laps. The first one you'll never really get the best lap out of. I can see him going faster. As is now, I'm seeing him taking certain corners better.
Yeah.
Just fighting a bit more understeer, but yeah, he should be faster as the session goes on.
We were now on board with Shaka's Warrior. As you would have seen, he had a bit of a moment in the penultimate corner. That definitely cost him a couple of tenths because he was going better than the best time that he had set of a 146.228. So he's going once again, and that red fuel light is not flashing, so it's reasonable to assume that he can definitely make a mark here on the standings. We have just over a minute to go in this qualifying session. Let's hop back with the man who was newest onto the paddock, onto this track. Goes a little bit wide through the penultimate turn, does MKG. He has to correct that steering now, and it is an absolute rush back to the pit lane for MKG. Charlie 3 Stacks, Charlie 3000. The self-proclaimed face of Breakaway. What can he do now? He's on the back straight, is Charlie, into the heavy braking zone. It's the penultimate turn, the right-hander. He has no issues with the apex this time, does Charlie 3 Stacks. Let's see how he fares now into the final corner. He positions his car to hopefully hit that apex, and the answer is yes. As a bit of a moment, eases up on the throttle, does Charlie 3 Stacks. How much time will that cost him? He crosses the line 4 tenths quicker, does Charlie 3 Stacks, and it's P2, still behind Tegway. What a result it is for Tegway, who's at an absolutely storming end to his season. He's on 25 points here, finds himself third in these standings, and has a huge moment there, loses his car and sends him to the gravel, almost sends it into the wall, and he will most likely have to abandon that attempt, and that 145.4 is pretty much, as things stand, the best that he can
Shaka
do.
takes P1.
Shaka goes even better. It's 145.464 by a factor of a couple of hundredths of a second. Shaka's Warrior snatches P1. He snatches pole position from Tegway. Oh, what an effort that is. We were on board with his penultimate lap, but on his final run, he gets it done. Superb effort from the Ferrari driver, getting it done there. A provisional pole as it stands, and of course, he should have taken the checkered flag now. Damn, Shaka says peace, aka Nucho. Oh, Charlie 3 Stacks definitely goes wide there, making his way at the beginning of the third sector. Is he abandoning? That red light is flashing. Oh, Charlie Three Stacks would have lost so much time there. MKG has taken the checkered flag, so he cannot improve. Of course, he took that in the pit lane, it seems, and it definitely looks like Charlie Three Stacks is nowhere near improving here. Tegway, meanwhile, we also saw him lose his car earlier on in the lap. So that looks like your grid for the start of this race, folks. It's going to be Shaka's Warrior in pole position, Tegway in the Red Bull, joining him on the front row, and Charlie Three Stacks and MKG will make up your P3 and P4 slots. 4 racers fighting it out for the final 3 slots in Tier 2, and those will be confirmed by the end of today. Ha! Well,
do you know what I've noticed actually from playoffs? Quite a lot of people find pace that shocks us all.
Yeah.
I mean, likes of Banobi. Since he's made his way to Tier 1, he's been incredible. We didn't get a chance to see him in the playoffs, but I mean, any person who makes his way to a higher tier tends to find quite a lot of pace compared to their previous season, and I don't know if it's just that motivation. What do you think the cause of that may be?
Perhaps iron sharpens iron, in the sense that, when the quality of racers around you improves, in your effort to pretty much keep up, you find yourself being pushed on to another level. But also perhaps for some drivers, when they find themselves in a higher tier, they're kind of forced to adapt their practice times and their practice efforts. I know that's been the case for some of the drivers that were promoted to Tier 1, and I can imagine that'll be the case for the new drivers coming into Tier 2 next season as well. Peace, aka Nucho, says, hey, can I select Shaka's Warrior as my partner for next season? Well, I think that'll be absolutely a phenomenal pairing if he can get it done. Of course, Shaka just needs 1 point to secure his place. Letty in the comments was saying, well, it was good of the Exco to select 3 really challenging, interesting tracks in these playoffs. And Letty also says, well, let's get those Bafana calculators out. Of course, the point situation will dictate who gets promoted and who gets knocked back to stay in Tier 3 for next season. It looks like it's dry, C-Clay. It's still not the easiest track, this. So they're going to have to make those final adjustments as we are going to get racing here. Now, you've spoken about the usefulness of the hard tire. If, for example, you start on the medium, how long could you take it on the first stint? Now, considering that we haven't had a lot of rubber on a dry track, it's been a wet qualifying, so how long could the mediums go?
I think it should definitely be very above 10 laps.
Yeah.
I don't know the specifics, but it should definitely be above 10 laps. But yeah, I can see a lot of them going medium hard. It's safe as well, but you can always go for the aggressive strategy, which would be mediums, softs. The only problem with that is there's less drivers, and likelihood of a safety car is non-existent actually. So it should be interesting, but the safe way, which I would recommend them to actually go, since it's the final race, is medium hards or soft hards.
We will soon get a sense of what their selection has been. It is 5 lights. It is lights out in China. It is Shaka's Warrior leading from Tegway currently. Charlie Three Stacks following close behind. Let's get a sense as Shaka's Warrior holds his line, as does Tegway. Charlie Three Stacks is fighting off MKG behind him, but as it stands, no positions have changed. Shaka's Warrior is about 4/10 holding off Tegway there as they come through this slaloming first sector. What can Shaka's Warrior do in this battle to hang on to P1? The answer to that, it's built a 6/10 gap as the likes of MKG are desperately looking to hang on. He's almost fallen back by a second as MKG. Shaka's Warrior has a bit of a moment coming out of that turn. Tegway, can he take advantage? The answer is no. The gap between them is about half a second currently. It is Shaka's Warrior leading from Tegway, from Charlie 3 Stacks, and MKG in P4. Secley, decent start.
Charlie and MKG started on hard. This is interesting. I've never actually seen that. I understand going on hards later on in the race, but having the car carrying so much load, where will they be finding the grip?
Where will they be finding the grip? As you can see right now, Charlie, who's usually so aggressive at the race start, cannot get that aggression or his trademark aggression off the line, so to speak, because those hard tires will take a while to sing, so to speak. They'll take a while to get into peak optimum performing conditions. And Charlie 3 Stacks is having to utilize so much of his ERS. He's down to about the mid 70%, so to speak, as we watch him battle to catch up with the likes of Tegway. The top two are on medium compound tires, and the next two are hanging on those hard tires. MKG struggling for pace again. He's already fallen 2 seconds behind P3. And here comes Tegway. Oh, he really was thinking about it. Goes aggressive on the inside line of this slow, long right-hander. Charlie 3 Stacks catches up, but he'll have to adjust his line, of course. He took an alternative line trying to catch up to likes of Tegway. It is Tegway sniffing at the back of that Ferrari. He can smell the fumes from the back of that car from Maranello. It is Shaka's Warrior holding his own, however, on those medium compound tires. And he's doing a decent job out here in lap 2 of 28, C-Clay.
Yeah, seeing two people on hards and two people on mediums, I actually would recommend those who are on mediums, they work together to form a gap on those two on hards. Any fighting they do here, like you saw a bit ago when Tegway tried making a move on Shaka, Charlie closed in.
Yeah.
I mean, Charlie's going to be quick at the end of the race. He might go soft. So the front two really have to work together in order to ensure that they don't give Charlie that chance towards the end of the race. But yeah, I mean, it's racing at the end of the day, so we'll see.
We will see indeed. It is Tegway looking to take advantage of Shaka's Warrior. As far as DRS is concerned, Shaka goes a little bit wide. Will Tegway be able to take advantage coming out of the penultimate corner? The answer is no. Shaka adjusts his line to take the final apex. Tegway follows closely behind. It is now the beginning of lap 3, and of course DRS will be enabled. These two, as you've mentioned, C-Clay, have managed to build a gap up between themselves and P3. The gap is about a second and a half currently. DRS has been enabled, and Tegway, who's been fighting desperately to hold on to the clutches of the DRS of Shaka's Warrior, will now be hoping to take advantage when that first DRS streak comes into effect. Woo! Charlie needs to beat the top two or he's out, says Peace, aka Nucho in the comments. MKG just needs to finish the race, says Kid K. He's struggling as MKG, 4.3 seconds behind Charlie, who finds himself about a second and a half behind this man, Tegway, who's slowly been falling behind Shaka's Warrior. He's still within DRS, so he needs to hang on here. He needs no mistake. Otherwise, when he crosses that detection point, he will not be able to take advantage there and gain those crucial tenths down the back straight. C-Clay?
It seems as if they've settled. Tegway might be waiting for the main straights to utilize the RS. But yeah, I don't think Shaka should fight this much. He doesn't actually require a race win. I think they should work together. So must Charlie and MKG.
Yeah.
That should actually make the race a bit more interesting later on. I don't know. That's just my thoughts.
Yep, they could definitely work together to keep those bottom two at bay. P3, Charlie 3 Stacks, and P4, MKG currently. This is the viewpoint from Charlie 3 Stacks. He can see the potential spat on track between Tegway and Shaka's Warrior, and he will know that the longer this race goes on, the greater his personal advantage as far as tire degradation is concerned. MKG, as we've mentioned, struggling for pace. 7 seconds behind these runners now. So he's, sticking to his strategy of just hoping to bring it home and rack up points that way and have a lot to say as far as the final points tally of this playoffs are concerned. Tegway needs a decent result. As you mentioned, C-Clay, all Shaka needs to do is just stay calm and, don't get too eager as far as the battling is concerned. Don't take unnecessary risks that could potentially lose your car, because he just needs that 1 point, the solitary point, and Shaka's Warrior will be fighting fit in Tier 2 next season. He gets huge...
Charlie spun!
Charlie 3 stacks! Had an almighty spin, the rear wing hitting the barrier there, and now MKG says, thanks for that. I will, I will need no second invitation. Charlie 3 stacks, the so-called face of Brakeaway, with a palm in his face currently, absolutely fuming, seething he would be, wanting to reclaim that spot. And the real Kaposa says Tegway has managed to find some insane pace. He's summoned the spirit of Man Ray in last year's playoffs. And Man Ray will, of course, be cheering him on with those, royal blue pom-poms in the Red Bull livery currently. Charlie 3 Stacks has to fight his way back into the reckoning here. MKG, meanwhile, is in P3 now, and he will look to keep Charlie 3 Stacks behind him. Romeo, a.k.a. Mandla, S. Mindle, asked, Charlie, is he going to make it? Is he going to make it? He said he was having fun in Silverstone. Well, right now, it's not looking too jolly for Charlie 3 Stacks. He's got his work cut out for him. He has got a recovery drive in prospect. He went for an alternative strategy alongside MKG, opting to start on the hard tires, and now he will have to make them sing for the rest of this race before, presumably, he hops onto the soft tires in his second and final stint later on. Man, that will be absolutely interesting to see, C-Clay.
Yeah, I think Charlie paid for his strategy pick there. It's not often, as I said before, you see someone go on hards to start the race. The track is still quite cold. MKG is taking it easy, so it's unlikely we'll see him spin. I think Charlie was trying to keep up with the front two, hence he spun. He should have way more grip at the end of the race, like you said.
And he currently has, he uses that DRS and goes on the outside of MKG and gets that move done. He will breathe a short sigh of relief, followed by a little moment of introspection, because he now finds himself 13 seconds behind the top two. Went for the alternate strategy to Charlie 3 Stacks, and now the odds are stacking up against him. What can he do now towards the midpoint and the end of this race? Well, time will tell. Let's hop back on board the battle for the lead. Tegway holding firm about 1.5 seconds behind Shaka's Warrior. He's been definitely one of the stories of the end of the season as well as the playoffs, has Tegway. Holding firm here, all he needs to do is hang on to this position, and he is on board for an absolutely memorable playoff campaign, possibly securing his spot in Tier 2 for next season. Sector 2, these two drivers come out and not wasting that battery. It's at the high 80%. That battery power for Tegway currently. And meanwhile, Shaka's Warrior is well and truly comfortable in the lead. Of course, defending that lead, his battery power is hovering at the 40% mark currently, but he's got Tegway at bay. And as we talk about these two, that gap to Charlie 3 Stacks, sadly for him, has not managed to get trimmed down. And as he desperately tries to claw his way back, Charlie, his battery power is down to about 33%. So it's a long road back for Charlie 3 Stacks here. And MKG, of course, as C-Clay has mentioned, is just looking to bring this car home, not taking unnecessary risks here. Kid K says Charlie needs P1, and the other three just need need to DNF for him to be promoted. So Charlie Three Stacks is banking on at least one of these guys finish crashing out of the race, and that's when Charlie will pretty much be more and more relieved. Peace says Charlie is like Bafana. So many permutations for him to qualify. The calculators are out, and Charlie has a hell of a job in his hands to make sure that he can stay in the reckoning here. Back to Tegway we go on the Red Bull. Here he is now. He's got that Ferrari in his sights. He has taken it nice and steady. 6-lap-old medium tires, and I suppose after lap 10, C-Clay, these tires, the grip will start to complain a little bit, and these guys will have to start thinking about coming into the pits.
Yes, actually think so. I think if they start to put softs, they'd actually be losing quite a lot of grip already. The crossover for soft to medium, I think would be happening around this point. So yeah, they still have some way to go with these mediums as well. But as for the likes of Charlie and MKG, they can go up until maybe lap 25. Cars are quite durable, so yeah, we'll see. It's hard to tell now. I see Charlie's able to keep the gap as is.
Yeah, as Tegway gets the fastest lap, chasing down Shaka's Warrior. Sorry to cut you off there, but as we were watching, he trimmed that gap down for about 1.3 seconds, down to 4/10. Absolutely sending it is Tegway, as Kaposa laments Charlie Three Stacks' lackadaisical approach to race 1. I told Charlie not to show in race 1, says Kaposa in the comment section. 20 laps to go. Tegway is 4/10 behind the race leader, Shaka's Warrior, who has had phenomenal fighting spirit here as they come through Sector 2. It's a careful Tegway here. He's careful not to lose the rear as they come slaloming through Sector 2 onto the end, of course, onto this short straight before the braking zone into this left-hander here. Charlie Three Stacks languishing 14.3 seconds behind this pack, and MKG slipping further and further behind, but he will have no care in the world. He just wants to bring this car home. Charlie Three Stacks under an insane amount of pressure. This is going to be a hard pill to swallow if Charlie Three Stacks is unable to capitalize and secure his spot in Tier 2 for next season. Tegway at the end of Sector 2 has fallen back to about a second and a half behind the race leader Shaka. Lap 8 of 28, 20 laps to go. Will they take this medium stint a little bit longer? The answer is yes. No pitting as yet, so we should be seeing them stretch this stint a little bit more. Tegway.
Oh no, Shaka is flashing. He's out of ERS, and looking at Tegway, he has 64%.
Charlie ain't making it, says Key Music. At least he's having fun. Going according to the comment that Charlie Three Stacks had the other day. Charlie should start to make time now, says Luns. 9-lap-old hard tires versus these mediums. Theoretically, they should start having a little bit of an advantage, and don't be surprised to see that 14.5-second gap that Charlie currently has start to get trimmed down slowly. It's Sector 2 for Tegway. 8-lap-old medium tires, and as Lungs mentions there, by the time if these top two are going to go to are going to choose a medium to hard strategy, as they try get that tire temperature up, that should help the likes of Charlie and MKG to bridge that gap. But of course, they still have to pit later on in the race. So if Tegway and Shaka's Warrior can hold on and ensure that they can get those hard tires singing, then it is still pretty much advantage to these two. But like Wendile, aka Wandal Shetty, was saying earlier on, he's just hoping that nobody DNFs here. Because that would certainly throw the cat among the pigeons. It is lap 9 of 28. Shaka's Warrior has no intention of bidding just yet. Tegway is moving, says Kaposa in the comment section. Shaka's Warrior has no intention of coming into the pits. Neither does Tegway. And look at that, lap 10, 9-lap-old medium tires. They're extending the gap to Charlie. So really struggling to make headway, C-Clay. is Charlie.
Yeah, he is, and I mean he's been using his ERS. I think he just doesn't have the pace here.
Yeah.
And in the wet conditions, he was also third place.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems as if he's trying a different strategy, maybe to at the end to be on a better compound than front two, who work definitely faster in quality. Yeah, just don't know if it'll pay off. 16-second gap already. That's a big gap.
That is a huge gap indeed. As Mandla was saying, Tegway must just pull the trigger here and get this move done somehow. Meanwhile, Lungs was saying this is one of the best places to undercut if you're going to look to gain some sort of an advantage over your opponents. Here comes Tegway sending that car. He takes a look on the inside. He's not close enough to get that move done here, but he's right on the tail of the Ferrari here as they come to begin lap 11. Shaka does not pit, neither does Tegway. He looks like he might be doing exactly what Tegway is doing, as just as Shaka was looking to take the fastest lap, Tegway says, no, it's mine, 136.760. He's collecting the fast laps, he's collecting the purple sectors, and he's hoping to collect and rather keep his spot in Tier 2. It's a hell of a fight from Tegway over here as Charlie 3 Stacks is languishing 16.5 seconds behind them, with MKG behind them. If you've just joined us, it's lap 11 of 28 in this most challenging of circuits for Formula 1. Shaka's Warrior had a moment coming out of that turn. Will that give Tegway an advantage? No, not necessarily. He almost took advantage of Tegway there, as Shaka had to really adjust his line. And Tapisa says they're almost at a pit time gap. So yeah, even if these two were to come into the pits now, Charlie 3 Stacks, if this gap keeps extending, he'd still find himself behind them when they come out the pits, which is a nightmare scenario for Charlie, who really, really is desperate for, at the very least, a top 2 finish and at least one DNF to secure his spot. Now, we're on the back straight. It's Tegway versus Shaka's Warrior. He's held his own as Tegway. There's a yellow flag a little bit further back. I'm going to take a look at that. Tegway goes on the inside, and he gets that move done. It's the race lead for Tegway in lap 11 of 28. He hits that apex, goes a little bit wide, does Tegway. Will Shaka's Warrior take advantage? He's on the outside now. Tegway adjusts his line to be able to take this next apex, and Tegway, who has had an absolutely fantastic day, leads this race in China. He finds himself P1 in the race lead in lap 12 of 28. We've had a yellow flag. It's fairly reasonable to assume that this man, MKG, who was about 5 or so seconds behind Charlie 3 Stacks, it's reasonable to assume that he's the one who might have had the spin. He finds himself about 15 seconds behind Charlie, an effective 30 seconds behind the race leaders here. It's Shaka's Warrior fighting back. Bomb, 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 as the theme to Shaka Zulu song goes. Will it be an explosive move? No, not necessarily. In this case, it's Shaka's Warrior hunting down Tegway now. It's been a fairly uneventful race, but these two giving us a little bit of entertainment as Tegway has really used up a lot of his battery. Saw him flashing a little bit there. It's Sector 2, the left-hander. They still have to slalom out of this onto this short straight. And making away onto the back straight now. Tegway has a little bit a squirm, and here comes Shaka's Warrior. Now Tegway just needs to keep his head here, keep it together. These two have no need to take unnecessary risks and risk spitting off, damaging wings, damaging the car, losing the car, and they find themselves now on the back straight. Shaka's Warrior.
Shaka's going for the move.
Yep. Definitely, he was punching that battery a little bit. Tegway weaves to the right to break the toe, and also to have a line onto this right-hander. He gets that inside line. Shaka goes wide, chasing him, and that'll cost him a tenth or two coming out for the penultimate turn. It's the final turn for Tegway, who takes it fairly cleanly. Shaka's Warrior is right there on his neck, on his back, clinging on to the rear wing of the Red Bull. It is the Scarlet Red Ferrari of Shaka's Warrior. Does he have a fighting chance into turn 1? No. Of course, this is where you get carried by lateral G out of this corner, and Shaka's Warrior is hanging on to within DRS here. Unfortunately for Charlie 3 Stacks, he has not had anything to say as far as challenging these top two are concerned. And here they come now through the second sector. Tegway having a little bit of a moment there, but not enough. It seems like Tegway might be struggling for grip here.
I mean, it's no surprise. He stayed behind Shaka for about 11 to 12 laps. I mean, he was in his 38 throughout that time. That must have had an impact on his tires. With all that 38 and all that heat on the tires, it's bound to happen.
Yeah. Definitely bound to be struggling. And as we say that, Shaka's Warrior did not get the cleanest of exits onto that back straight, meaning Tegway manages, to stretch that gap a little bit to about 9/10 or so. But Shaka with DRS trims that gap all the way back down. Tegway takes that penultimate corner fairly cleanly, and they're going to have a scrap onto the back straight. Will Tegway pit? Finally, the answer is no. We've seen him squirm and struggle a little bit, and Shaka's Warrior is chasing him there, about 8/10 behind. Charlie 3 Stacks has had a hell of a struggle. That gap, which was at about 16 seconds at some point, has trimmed it down to about 14 and a half seconds, courtesy of the battle between Tegway and Shaka's Warrior. Yes, Clay.
I think it's about time the mediums pit. I don't think they should try compete with Charlie on hard. I mean, he can go as long as he wants, unlike them.
Yeah.
They both seem to be struggling. Shaka as well. Pace doesn't seem to be there anymore. I see the gap is climbing up to maybe a second now. I think the front two should pit.
Yeah.
Just to ensure that they can maximize the next stint of hards. It's lap 14 now. It's halfway through the race. It should be the most sensible thing to do.
100% lap 14 of 28. Kaboza agrees. He says, he reckons that, these guys are going to be, struggling at this moment. They should definitely be coming into the pits. I suppose whoever out of these two opts to do that first will definitely have the advantage here. I'd imagine they're definitely thinking about that. Tegway had the advantage of just doing the opposite or copying Shaka when he was following, and now the initiative is up to him. Will he pit? No! He keeps on going, does Tegway. What about Shaka? Same! Going into lap 15 of 28.
This is only playing into Charlie's hands. He's faster than them at the moment, and you want to pit when you still have a larger advantage on the person behind you. And they're just letting that gap go down. I mean, Charlie will be on very quick softs at the end.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're doing.
Yep, it is definitely something to consider when Charlie slaps on those soft tires. Well, depending on how small this gap is going to be, they would definitely be at a disadvantage by then. MKG trudging along, still at the back. 21 seconds behind Charlie. Oh, it goes wide. Absolutely struggling is MKG, but his strategy is just to keep this car on track, bring it home, and I'll collect whatever points I can get. Back to Shaka's Warrior now, and Tegway. These two have definitely been struggling. We've seen those cars squirm and have a little bit of a wiggle. Grip is at an absolute premium out here in China. And Crash is in the comment section. It's good to see you, Crash. What about Smirch? What is he saying? Smirch Django says Charlie will get his chance when they pit, and it's going to be scenes when MKG DNFs. Oh, not a fan of MKG. There's a yellow flag. Was it MKG? No, it might have been MKG because he's 30 seconds behind Charlie 3 Stacks now. Shaka's Warrior and Tegway are relentless. Clay, are these guys possibly thinking we're going to go long on these mediums and hop onto soft? Is that a viable strategy here?
It could be. Just the risk of a puncture. Do you want to take that risk? That's the thing. I mean, they're only sliding around more now with the tires being so worn. Degradation is only going to climb up from here. I don't know. Like I said, with Charlie starting with hards, it's an unorthodox strategy. Usually here it's mediums hards. That's generally the quickest strategy. Could pay off for them. Maybe it's a way to cover off Charlie seeing the gap, but the risk of a puncture, that's the problem, or mistake.
Or a mistake as these tires start to scream for you to come into the pits. It's lap 16 of 28. Effectively, at the end of this lap, it'll be about 11 laps of racing to go before we get to the epic conclusion of this playoff series. It is the big battle for Tier 2. And Shaka's Warrior and Tegway have been absolutely struggling for grip over the past 5 laps or so. Slowly but surely, Charlie 3 Stacks has managed to keep it together. That gap, which was about 16 seconds at some point, is down to 13. Tegway is not relenting. He carries on, as does Shaka's Warrior. So perhaps we're going to see a medium to soft strategy here towards the end of this race. How long can soft tires go here, C-Clay?
Definitely like 10 laps with the car with less fuel. They will be slower towards the end, but I mean they'll be quicker than any other tire on track, definitely.
Yep, the interesting thing is that with this gap, that Charlie has lost about a second since we last checked in with him. Though, well, if they all pit for softs towards the end of this race, that'll make things very interesting to see if somehow Charlie can bridge this gap here. But Charlie will definitely be looking to take advantage of any sort of mistake or mishaps that these guys can give him. There's some anxiety in the comments as you guys are watching these drivers take a completely unorthodox strategy, and they're absolutely pressuring those tires so much, putting those tires under so much strain, going for an absolutely long stint on medium compound tires. Don't know what's been happening in the simulation rooms at Red Bull and Ferrari out here, but
trust me, I was not a part of this.
C-Clay abdicates responsibility. This is not my doing, says C-Clay, as these guys are carrying on. Tegway is not pitting. We could definitely assume that these guys are going to hope to hop onto soft a little bit later. Bungani says MKG just needs to finish. He just needs to bring the car home. Now, let me check in one more time with the points situation for you. Remember, Shaka's Warrior leads this pack in terms of the playoff points. Shaka's Warrior has 44 points. He needs just 1 point, does Shaka. He just needs to finish. Ban Kobe says these tires are going to burst. Shaka's Warrior, 44 points. MKG, 30 points. That's this man running at the back. He's on 30 points currently. Then we have the race leader, Tegway. He has 25 points. And Charlie 3 Stacks, the face of Brakeaway, is facing a potential, heartbreak here. He currently has 19 points. So he's the man most desperate for a dramatic result here as far as potential mistakes and DNFs are concerned, so that he can take advantage here. That gap is holding steady at 14 seconds. Clearly, this is not Charlie's favorite hunting ground. And, it is not his favorite hunting ground. I'll make sure to check that Wandile, to get the latest standings. Key Music says, I've never seen tires burst in this game. He's responding to the point that Ban Cody was making in this race. Charlie will win this race.
The first time we see that.
Today maybe
again.
They go, yes, they keep on going. Let me just check in on the as things stand, according to the positions currently. Now, if this race finishes as things are right now, then Shaka's Warrior would have 62 points. Tegway would have 50 points, putting him in P2, guaranteeing his spot. And MKG would have 42 points, guaranteeing his spot in Tier 2. So Charlie 3 Stacks is hoping and praying for bad luck for MKG. Charlie 3 Stacks is hoping that MKG can crash out here, and then he could take advantage here, because as things stand, even if MKG finishes and he gets lapped, MKG would still make it through to Tier 2, courtesy of all those points that he has racked up. So it's advantage Tegway, advantage Charlie 3 Stacks, advantage MKG, as we have about 9 laps of racing to go, soon to be 8. We're on board now with the race leader, who has been so impressive towards the end of the season and indeed in this playoff campaign. It is Tegway with 18-lap-old medium tires. Oh, what are those Red Bull engineers saying? What are those what's that tire data saying? Because we've really seen that grip is at an absolute premium. What do you guys reckon? Do you guys reckon Charlie 3 Stacks can pull one out the hat here after the pit window? Crash has been known over time to make an early call, to make some early predictions, and get it spot on. So will it be another correct sort of punt there from Crash? Well, let us know. The front two will pit and he won't, says a Crash. That's when he expects Charlie to take advantage. Yes, Seaflay?
I think the pit window should be open from this lap. Seeing there's 8 laps left. Softs should easily keep their pace up until the end. So if Tegway continues again, I don't think Shaka should. I'm watching his car at the moment, and those tires do not look healthy whatsoever. Maybe an undercut, just to make things a bit more spicy, because at this point, come on.
Yep, perhaps. Yes, to answer your question, Crash, Charlie and MKG went for a completely unorthodox strategy. They started on hard tires. They have not pitted. These two, the top two, have started on medium. And it's an absolutely unorthodox strategy for these top two to go so long. And as some of you have mentioned in the comments, the weather is not looking too promising towards the end of this race. Now remember, these race engineers and these drivers will have the intel on tire conditions at the end of this race. So will we be having a wet final couple of laps? Maybe
continue.
Yeah, they still keep going. Lap 21 of 28. That is insane. That is insane. Composer saying, yes, maybe that's why they've all been holding up. It is pretty much anticipating the rain. And that is quite likely, well and truly possible, with just 7 laps of racing here to go. These gents are managing the weather, says Zotal Delamity, aka the one and only Zotal of Red Bull fame, out in Tier 1. Well, let's see how they manage towards these final 7 laps. Yes, it is raining. That is exactly what these guys expected, and they have pushed these medium compound tires for 20 laps, knowing that the conditions would change towards the end. What an absolutely phenomenal effort from these top two on this track to take these tires for 20 laps. Now we understand why Charlie 3 Stacks and MKG went for what is definitely the most unorthodox strategy. This is crazy. What brilliant call, says Crash in the comment section. Rain in China at the Shanghai International Circuit with 7 laps, soon to be 6 laps of racing to go. It is Tegway in the lead. And as things stand, Tegway, Shaka's Warrior, and MKG will be your Tier 2 drivers next season. Will Tegway relent? Will Tegway finally come into the pits? Things are getting interesting, says Much Jangle. Yes. Well done to these folks for holding it. No! Tegway keeps going! He keeps going as the seat lane.
These guys are old. Okay, will Charlie pit?
Well, that would.
He continues.
Charlie keeps on going. In lap 22 of 28, none of these guys are relenting currently. Lung says it's not wet enough, which is absolutely correct, of course. If they were to come out onto these intermediate tires now, with the track not necessarily being that wet, they could risk overheating, no?
I understand that, Tyson. The thing is, with this particular game, weather conditions change immediately. Track could get wet within a split second. I mean, it looks quite wet now. I'm seeing some standing water on track.
At some points of the track, we were on board with the MKG currently running almost a minute, 52 seconds behind Charlie. So don't be surprised if MKG stays out on track longer than these front runners.
Why?
MKG has also not pitted. He passes the pit lane. By now, of course, he would have known that nobody has pitted as yet. And I definitely look. We're on board with Shaka's Warrior now, and the asphalt has definitely darkened. They definitely. I mean, if they still stay out after this lap, I would be so surprised. Brakeaway, zero grip. Shaka's Warrior, zero grip. They both have moments coming out of the penultimate corner, and Brakeaway finally comes into the pit. Shaka's Warrior follows. Oh, Brakeaway goes wide in the pit lane, but he keeps that car. At the entrance to the pit lane. He manages to keep things on track. Finally, the top two come into the pits, and don't be surprised to see those intermediates. Yes, it is. Here comes Charlie 3 Stacks. Charlie 3000, the face of Brakeaway. He had fun in Britain, not so much in race 2, and finds himself on the brink of elimination. He will also slap on those medium compound tires. Will Charlie 3 Stacks, and MKG, who is so far behind, will catch up with him when he eventually reaches that pit lane. DRS disabled, of course, under these conditions. And now, C-Clay, they have to get these tires up to optimum working conditions, which is a task on its own.
I think they'll do it successfully, though, seeing they had a bit of practice in the rain now in quali. Should now see who has better race pace. It's not easy overtaking in the rain. I think in some tracks you're required to be about 5/10 to a second faster to make an overtake. So this only benefits Brakeaway, unless if he makes mistakes like he just
as you say that,
now.
he goes wide. Yes, Shaka's Warrior has a bit of a sniff. Yeah, you were saying, C-Clay, will he get him down on this short straight? No, he bides his time, knowing if he can just hang on and keep this 3/10 gap, Shaka's Warrior will definitely have the jump on him, so to speak, on this back straight. But Brakeaway looks to be getting a better exit. He has to make adjustments. No, it's Shaka's Warrior on the outside. They're side by side, and Shaka's Warrior is back in the lead of the race. With almost 4 laps of racing to go, Brakeaway will be looking to fight back going into the penultimate corner. He takes a sniff on the inside. No unnecessary risks. Shaka's Warrior breaks, but Brakeaway also bides his time and he says, no, I won't take that unnecessary risk. It is Brakeaway back in P2. We are almost down to 4 laps of racing, and would you look at that, under intermediate tire conditions, that gap, which was 16 seconds at some point, is now down to 9.8 seconds. So, on the out lap, on these intermediates, Charlie 3 Stacks is looking very, very comfortable here in these conditions. Of course, he's still praying for a DNF on the part of MKG here. King Straw is saying in the comments section, His Royal Highness King Straw says Charlie should not have showboated out in Britain. He shouldn't have had so much fun, so to speak. As Charlie was saying, taking an alternate strategy. Shaka's Warrior took full advantage, of course, in Britain. And, now, Kaposa says, imagine showboating in the 10th minute of a soccer match, King Straw. Well, Streezy says, well, season like we will laugh at him. Charlie 3 Stacks now about just hovering at the 9-second mark behind P2 running a Brakeaway currently. MKG, of course, eventually did pit. He finds himself about a minute and 10 seconds almost behind Charlie 3 Stacks. So way behind is Lakoa, aka MKG here. Shaka's Warrior leads this race. 4 laps, soon to be 3 laps of racing to go. Who has been your driver of the day? Let us know in the comment section if you have just joined us. It has been an absolutely intriguing final playoff race out here in China. Tegway and Shaka's Warrior have been the two standouts. Of course, Shaka's Warrior towards the end of qualifying pipped Tegway by a couple of hundredths to pole position, and these two have pretty much been running P1 and P2 throughout this race. Tsepiso reckons Tegway is definitely the driver of the day, and now these two having swapped places means that Shaka's Warrior now has 69 points as things stand. Tegway will have 43 points if he can hang on to P2. He'll have 43 points. MKG in P4, this man will be on 45 points if things stay the way that they are. And Charlie 3 Stacks, despite a valiant effort to hang on to P3, he will have 31 points, which is not enough to get him promoted to Tier 2. As it stands, Charlie 3 Stacks is staying in Tier 3. Bar some last-minute drama, specifically from the likes of MKG. He is under pressure as Charlie 3 Stacks, a man usually grinning from ear to ear, but right now, of course, is not smiling at all, Seafley.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, previous race, that wasn't his fault, but it seems as if that incident will now cause him to, stay in Tier 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate. He has a lot of pace. He definitely does deserve to go to Tier 2.
Has a huge moment there as we're on board, but he manages to keep that car as he's making his way onto the back straight. He almost had an almighty spin to Charlie 3 Stacks, and I wonder how many tenths that'll cost him. Well, he's definitely lucky because it seems that Tegway might have had a moment of his own. That gap, which was about a second between Tegway and Shaka's Warrior, is now down to 3.2 seconds. So, Charlie thanking his lucky stars that Tegway also had a bit of a moment. On top of that, Charlie 3 Stacks, Charlie 3000 becomes Charlie 3 second time penalty. He racks up. He becomes the first driver to get that 3 second time penalty on lap 26 of 28. MKG has been like, you know what? I am not taking any risks. All I need to do is finish this race. And as things stand, MKG in P4 will have 45 points, which is more than enough to see him finishing ahead of Charlie. Of course, sadly for Charlie, he had that huge incident in Turn 1 in Baku, which saw him crash out. And of course, that combined with his strategy in the first race is what has cost Charlie currently his spot in Tier 2 as things stand. Man, absolutely dramatic ending here. Tegway, man, the gap was about 3.3 seconds, and he's managed to trim it to 2.7. It's back to about 3 or so seconds as he has that moment coming onto this short straight. It's going to be the left-hander now, and we'll see how he fares in this scrap towards the back straight now. Let's see if Tegway can inch a little bit closer now. He's going to use as much DRS as possible. It's still quite high for him. He hasn't had need to waste that battery too much. And with just 2 laps to go, well, it is pretty much a decent effort, a fantastic effort from Tegway, rated by some of you as the driver of the day here. Vix in the comments section here says, I wanted Charlie 3 Stacks to vie to Tier 2. He's going to terrorize Tier 3 now. Meanwhile, Wendell Shezzy says a Crash and Charlie rivalry in Tier 3 next season is going to be something to watch with close attention. Deanie says he's going to come back to the chats and tell us that this was just for fun. Man. Caboza says Charlie said he's going to retire if he doesn't make it back to Tier 2. Well, he's got 1 lap to pray for a miracle here in China. 1 lap for MKG, hopefully, to crash out. And I'll tell you that MKG will have no such plans. He doesn't mind being lapped here, does MKG. He knows that he will get those points. And as you can see on the bottom right of your track map, we're on board with Shaka's Warrior here. And slowly but surely, he inches closer and closer to the back of that Alpine of MKG, aka Lakoa. Drama out here. It's heartbreak for Charlie 3 Stacks, who has not seen anyone DNF out here. And as things stand, well, he will be the one rolling out the red carpet to the new drivers making their way to Tier 3, those who've been relegated from Tier 2. It's the Scarlet Red Ferrari in the lead. Shaka's Warrior holding it down, 2.5 seconds, the gap between him and Tegway in P2.
Then he asks who loses just for fun.
Loses just for fun. Shame. In Charlie's defense, though, it's really that heartbreaking result in Baku which cost him this playoff spot here. But of course, those points, those crucial extra points in Britain would have gone such a long way here, actually. So it could be said that he's equally culpable for not having taken the safer strategy back in Britain. Shaka's Warrior leads the race in lap 28 of 28. He has kept things calm, he's kept things steady, and he's kept the race lead for most of this race. Charlie Mabo.
Charlie Mapotlela, Ekawa, Akunzima for Charlie Ambrose, Maruzami, Pushila, tough.
It's it's tough. The guys are saying Charlie bottled it out here. Tegway has trimmed that gap to about 1.6 seconds. A decent effort from him. Charlie did make the playoffs entertaining, says Letty, as Charlie is the subject of an almighty roasting session at about 10 seconds behind P3 currently. Ooh, Tegway goes quite hard over the curbs there, and Charlie is really, apparently, the word we're getting from the paddock is Charlie has stopped responding to the race engineers. They keep asking him a couple of questions, but it is heartbreak, it is anger, it is an absolute sad situation for the face of Brakeaway here. And right now, Charlie Three Stacks really in a heartbreaking situation here. Now, let's see, let's hop on board in the final lap. It's lap 28 of 28. This man, Shaka's Warrior, set the league alight when he joined Tier 3. He's been endorsed, if you will. He's been mentored by the likes of C-Clay, and he's put on a championship caliber drive in China to cross the line in P1. He is a Tier 2 driver. Tegway, who has been fantastic this season, crosses the line in P2. It is Tier 2 for Tegway. He is back. Let's segue to Tegway in the Red Bull. He has guaranteed his spot in Tier 2, and Charlie Three Stacks will cross the line with a broken heart because it is not enough as things stand to get promoted to Tier 2. Charlie Three Stacks, Charlie 3000, Charlie Tier 3, sadly for him. Shout out Tegway, fire emojis from Enlebo. MKG is making his way gradually, slowly to the finish line. C-Clay, what an effort. It is Shaka's Warrior and Tegway, and barring a miracle here towards the end of this lap, it's looking like MKG who will guarantee their spots in Tier 2. So, as it stands, the two Tier 2 drivers hang on to their spots in the league. And Charlie Three Stacks, sadly for him, drops to Tier 3 alongside Sige Fig, who also stays in Tier 3. And of course, sadly, Crash, who could not take part in these playoffs. Let's go, says Romeo. C-Clay, what a race.
Yeah, definitely. Very weird race. I was actually also thinking now, I know MKG is much faster than he makes it seem.
Yeah.
I just think he's taking it very easy. A man does not want to be relegated.
Yeah.
But what an effort.
What an effort.
Charlie shouldn't be disappointed.
He did what needed to be done, did MKG, and crossing the line now in P4, he has 45 points, meaning he retains his spot in Tier 2 Breakaway League racing next season. Tegway, with 43 points, hangs on to his Tier 2 spot, and Shaka's Warrior is a Tier 2 driver next season. Look out for this man, the Scarlet Red Ferrari. C-Clay, you know him very well. We can expect him to be challenging for a potential automatic promotion spot, but it's not going to be easy.
I think it's going to be an interesting season in T2. Looking at, we also have a new game now. that will be racing in.
Yes.
Yeah, it should be very interesting. It's gonna shake up the roster. I mean, we're gonna see, of course, though, Smith Django still in T2. So,
Yep.
that's a given, but the rest, it's gonna be tight throughout the season. They all will be learning.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm expecting to see quite a lot of improvements and quite a lot of different personalities as well, making it to, T1 next season.
Absolutely. It's going to be beautiful. Catching up lastly with some of your comments. Can we get Charlie a day pass into the WhatsApp group for Tier 2 possibly? Is that Liddy? Sadly, Charlie, it's been great seeing you racing this season, and we know you're going to bring the heat. We hope to see you racing and keep on bringing that heat under new cars, new regulations, F1 22 for next season of Breakaway League Racing. Congrats to Shaka's Warrior, Tagway, and MKG, Tier 2 drivers for next season. And final comments, Dini says, I would definitely give MKG money to invest in stocks on my behalf. He has a plan. Man Ray says, Charlie choked. Charlie 3 Proteus. It's going to be tough there by Tier 2. Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us in this final playoff race. Remember, at 9 p.m., it is the final battle to secure a Tier 1 spot. The face of Tier 3, says King Straw, speaking about Charlie 3 stacks. Well, it's going to be absolutely fantastic. The Tier 2 league is going to be fantastic. Fire emoji, says Man Ray. We're looking forward to see you doing your thing in Tier 2 as well. Thank you, Seaflay. It's been brilliant. Yeah, look forward to a fantastic final race in the fight for Tier 1.
Yeah, Ty, quick question. Final question.
Yeah.
Will we be seeing you making your way back on track?
Sadly, look, I'm very tempted. I'm not going to lie, but I doubt it. Just because of time, I doubt it. I mean, if I do get heavy FOMO, then I might just, I don't know, I might just get tempted. If my pace improves, then maybe I'll just give it a shot, but it would be fun. It would be fun. But I look forward to commentating.
Looking forward to seeing you back on track eventually.
Yeah, eventually. Definitely. Thank you so much, Seaflay. You've been fantastic. Everybody in the comments, thank you. Remember, 9 p.m., it's the final battle for Tier 1. Thank you and good night. See you in the playoffs, Kapoza, says Man Ray. Cheers, everybody.
Goodbye.